Good evening, Lake Swamp Baptist Church. I pray that everybody is having a great day. I have enjoyed the chill, but it's like been walking through a cloud where I live at. So it's just the right moisture to where you can't put your wipers on low, but you can't set them low enough on it. So I'm switching and turning. Yeah, it's like a little mist thing. But anyways, it's nice. It reminds me of England, and it's beautiful over there when there's a mist around and stuff. So we are going to continue in the study of Genesis tonight. We will be in chapter 12. And this is the part where everything before here is kind of like prehistory. We went over creation, we went over the flood, we talked about the fall of man, and we kind of went over the table of nations, how they spread out. The three sons of Noah, they spread out after they got off the ark, and we talked a lot about that. And then we talked about the genealogies. We talked about how it was very plausible that Abraham had maybe been taught by Noah, because Noah was still around. And then we got into the Table of Nations chapter, where we talked about the offspring and the cities that were being created, and then how Nimrod wanted to gather them all together. He was the first world dictator, and he's kind of like a foreshadowing of the Antichrist that's to come. He's an Assyrian, so we talked about that. The Tower of Babel, the confusion of languages, and how God's like, look, I didn't tell you to conglomerate in one area. I said to spread out. And so when he confused their language, they had no choice but to kind of spread out. Now we're getting into the majority of Genesis, which is about the patriarchs. And Abraham is going to be the main character, if you will. Okay? It'll be a lot about Abraham. And we're going to learn about Isaac and Jacob, and then we'll even get down into Joseph. And right when Joseph dies, when they're down in Egypt because of a famine, that's when Genesis ends, okay? So let's go to the Lord in prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this evening. We thank you for your blessings. And Lord, we thank you for all that's here and this comfortable place we can meet. Lord, remember all the prayer requests. And Lord, I pray for this church, Lord, that they will grow in knowledge and in wisdom. Lord, I do believe it is the end time and your return is imminent. So Lord, I pray, do not let anyone be deceived. But Lord, let us know what's happening around us and in the world. But let us keep our eyes on you, not on the waves, not on the wind, but on you, Lord. Be with us tonight and accept this study of Genesis as worship of you, Lord. And Lord, help us to be doers of the word and not just hearers. In Jesus' holy name, amen. All right. We're going to really begin to dig into the life of Abraham in chapter 12. Okay? What do y'all know about Abraham? Let me hear some things. Tell me some things about Abraham. Sister Renee, tell me something about Abraham. Father Abraham. Why is he called Father Abraham?
Out of his seed would be a great nation.
All Jewish tribes originate from Abraham. That is a true statement. Was Abraham a Jew? He was not. He was a Gentile, right? And it was by faith that he believed. What else can you tell me? Now, y'all been going to church maybe for a consolidated 100 years at least. Come on, tell me about Abraham. He had a son. Okay, yeah. He married a woman named Sarah. They were old when they had Isaac. Okay. He slept with the concubine, right? Okay, had Ishmael. All right. Isaac was the promised son, right? Okay.
I like the story when Abraham had to carry Isaac.
Abraham, he had to take his son, right? And we're going to talk about that in the future, but God's like, I want you to sacrifice your son. We know God stopped him, and God provided the sacrifice. He was obedient. Was he a friend of God? Now that's a title. Have you ever really thought about that? I'm a friend of God. I'm a friend of God. James chapter 2 verse 23, James tells us he was a friend of God in James 2:23. But he's Father Abraham not just because he's father of the Jews. What else? What other religions claim him as the father of their religion? Islam, right? They say Father Abraham. Who else? Christians, and we'll find that out tonight, okay? But yeah, Christians as well. So those three religions, those are the predominant religions in the world, right? And Abraham, all of them claim Abraham as Father Abraham. He is mentioned 74 times in the New Testament. So I think he's a pretty significant character in the Bible to be mentioned that many times. And it's important to understand who Abraham is because of the covenant that he made with God affects us today. All families would be blessed in the world, right? All of them. So we are definitely impacted, and in more ways than that as well.
Wasn't Abraham with the rich man? Was that Abraham with the rich man when he asked him to send, word back to his brothers not to come here? Was that Abraham? Wasn't Abraham?
Well, that was,
But they were in Ham.
he was
No,
in it,
that was
but-
in Ham.
but he was
I'm
in
getting
it.
that confused.
Yeah. Abraham's bosom. You're thinking about Abraham's bosom. Yeah. So, yeah, and Abraham's like, you can't cross. Yeah. But that's when he was in Sheol. Yeah. Right. Very good.
But that was Abraham.
Let's look at verses 1 through 3. Y'all ready? Let's see if y'all learned anything new tonight. Verses 1 through 3. And Abram went up out of Egypt, he and his wife and all that he had, and Lot with him, into the south. And Abram was very rich in cattle, in silver, and in gold. And he went on his journeys from the south even to Bethel. No, I'm in the wrong chapter. Let's go to chapter 12. Yeah? Y'all want to go to chapter 12 tonight? Yeah. No one stopped me. How long would y'all have let me read? I was like, I don't remember. I didn't read that. Okay. Chapter 12 on page 14. Now the Lord had said unto Abram, get thee out of thy country and from thy kindred and from thy father's house unto a land that I will show thee. And I will make of thee a great nation, and I will bless thee and make thy name great, and thou shalt be a blessing. And I will bless them that bless thee, and curse him that curseth thee. And in thee shall all families of the earth be blessed. So we see that God tells Abram, hey, I'll show you the land, and I'm going to make a great nation out of you. Now, we've all heard of Sodom and Gomorrah, right? They were sinful. They were sinful. They were judged. Who here is from Sodom or Gomorrah? Is there anyone on earth today from Sodom or Gomorrah? They don't exist. Is America full of sin? Where's our judgment? I know, but up to this point, I mean, I think it was, I'm trying to remember who it was. It was some pastor. But they said, if God doesn't judge America,
He should apologize to Sodom and Gomorrah.
no. Yeah, he should apologize. He's going to have to apologize to Sodom and Gomorrah. That was it. That's what it was. So think about that. But why has America not been judged? Did you hear what we just read? Did you hear what we just read?
Kind of alludes to right, remember grace and I believe with the rapture.
Listen to this. I will bless them that bless thee, and curse him that curseth thee. Who's a friend of Israel? America has been traditionally, right? I think it's that very same reason that we haven't been judged as much. I really do. We are because he said, hey, your people, Abraham, you're the chosen people. If people bless you, I'll bless them. But if they curse you, I will curse them. So when I see protests at college calling for the genocide of Jews, I'm like, Lord, help us. Y'all don't know what y'all don't know what you're doing. You don't know what you're doing. But we have supported Israel throughout our history, and I hope that we continue to do. An important note is in Acts chapter 7. Let's go ahead and flip there, if you will. Acts chapter 7. Because someone who I really like goes face to face with the head leaders. And he's talking about Abraham. And it's Stephen. And he reiterates what we're studying. Acts chapter 7, verse 2 and 3. And he said, men, brethren, and fathers, hearken. The God of glory appeared unto our father Abraham when he was in Mesopotamia before he dwelt in Haran, and said unto him, get thee out of thy country and from thy kindred, and come into the land which I will show thee. So Stephen brings him up. But one of the things to note there is something that we've been talking about, right? When did God tell Abram to get out of the land of his father? When they were still in Mesopotamia. When they were still in Ur. Remember we talked about that? If you look at chapter 12, now the Lord had said. And see, we don't have that recorded, but we had read the book of Jasher, right? Where Abraham had learned about God. So it was before, because it's confirmed in Acts chapter 7. So that's something that, if you ever have that discussion, and people's like, well, it doesn't say that. Say, well, actually, if you go to the book of Acts, Stephen tells us that he learned. God had told him while he was still in Mesopotamia, in the land of Ur there. Okay? So that's something good to know. Did you catch the 7 when we read the first 3 verses? Did anybody catch the 7? I will make thee a great nation. How many is that? 1. I will bless thee. 2. I will make thy name great. 3. Thou shalt be a blessing. 4. I will bless them that bless thee. 5. I will curse them that curse thee. 6. In thee shall all families of the earth be blessed. Amazing. Every blessing that we have today derived from this covenant that God made with Abraham. So Abraham is worthy of study, his relationship with God. And we'll see some of his behavior, his traits, and his habits, and a lot of them are the ones that we should emulate. As a matter of fact, turn with me to Matthew chapter 25. Matthew chapter 25. And we'll go to verse 31. Matthew 25, verse 31. Matthew 25, verse 31. Now remember what I just said, those sevens, right? This is Jesus talking. When the Son of Man shall come in his glory, and all the holy angels with him, then shall he sit upon the throne of his glory. And before him shall be gathered all nations. And he shall separate them one from another, as a shepherd divideth his sheep from the goats. And he shall set the sheep on his right hand, but the goats on his left hand. Then shall the king say unto them on his right hand, Come, ye blessed of my Father. Does that go back to the Abraham covenant there? I will bless them that bless thee. Yeah. That are blessed of my Father. Inherit the kingdom prepared for you and from the foundation of the world. For I was hungered, and you gave me meat. I was thirsty, and you gave me drink. I was a stranger, and you took me in. Naked, and ye clothed me. I was sick, and ye visited me. I was in prison, and ye came unto me. Then shall the righteous answer him, saying, Lord, when saw we thee hungered, and fed thee, or thirsty, and gave thee drink? When saw we thee a stranger, and took thee in, or naked, and clothed thee? Or when saw we thee sick, or in prison, and came unto thee? And the king shall answer and say unto them, Verily I say unto you, inasmuch as ye have done it unto one of the least of these my brethren, ye have done it unto me. Then shall he say also unto them on the left hand, Depart from me, ye cursed, into everlasting fire prepared for the devil and his angels. For I was hungered, and you gave me no meat. I was thirsty, and you gave me no drink. I was a stranger, and ye took me not in. Naked, and ye clothed me not. Sick, and in prison, and ye visited me not. Then shall they also answer him, saying, Lord, when saw we thee a hungered, or athirst, or a stranger, or naked, or sick, or in prison, and did not minister unto thee? Then shall he answer them, saying, Verily I say unto you, inasmuch as ye did it not to one of the least of these, ye did it not unto me. And these shall go away into everlasting punishment, but the righteousness into life eternal. And that's something how the Bible supports itself. It validates itself. So it is important that we elect people that will support Israel. Our nation depends on it. It really does. It really does. How are all the families of the earth blessed? Well, we just read a little bit about Jesus, right? What he's going to do. How about he gave his son? I think the world's blessed because it's a free gift of salvation. Hey, yes, you messed up. Yes, you're wretched. No, you're not righteous. But by the grace of God, you can be set free from the law and condemnation. Your sins can be forgiven, and you can be reconciled unto God and become a child of His because of what Jesus, His Son, did. And He's going to sit on that throne during the millennial reign. That's going to be a blessing. That will be a blessing in itself. Verses 4 through 9. So Abram departed, as the Lord had spoken unto him, and Lot went with him. And Abram was 75 years old when he departed out of Haran. And Abram took Sarah his wife, and Lot his brother's son, and all their substance that they had gathered, and the souls that they had gotten in Haran. And they went forth to go into the land of Canaan. And into the land of Canaan they came. And Abram passed through the land unto the place of Shechem, unto the plain of Moreh, and the Canaanite was in the land. And the Lord appeared unto Abram, and said, Unto thy seed will I give this land. And there builded he an altar unto the Lord, who appeared unto him. And he removed from thence into a mountain on the east of Bethel, and pitched his tent, having Bethel on the west, and Hai on the east. And there he builded an altar unto the Lord and called upon the name of the Lord. And Abram journeyed, going on still towards the south. So we see that God did point out the land, right? Like, hey, this land, this is the land I'm going to give you. But who was dwelling there at the time? The Canaanites, right? The Canaanites, and we'll study quite a bit about them. They were specifically mentioned. Also, Abraham makes it a habit to build altars. He's got several places of worship. He's going to worship the Lord. He's going to worship him. Did you notice how he would go a little bit and pitch a tent and stay there, and then he'd move a little bit and build another tent? Why didn't he build a home? He was moving. Was his home here? No, he had his eyes on another home, right? Are we not pilgrims? In Revelation, there are two specific types of people spoken of. One are the Christians, those that are saved by God or anointed by God or sealed by God, and the other ones are considered earth dwellers. Remember that when we studied Revelation? It called them earth dwellers, the inhabitants of the earth. You see, we're passing through. Is that how we conduct our lives? We need to. We're just passing through. I got a job to do. I keep telling people it's like I'm on a temporary duty in the military. This ain't my home. I just got a job to do, and then I'm going back home. And I look forward to my homecoming. And so as a Christian, we should look forward to our homecoming, which is not here on this earth. All right. Verses 10 through 20. And there was a famine in the land. And Abram went down into Egypt to sojourn there, for the famine was grievous in the land. And it came to pass when he was come near to enter into Egypt, that he said unto Sarah his wife, Behold now, I know that thou art a fair woman to look upon. Therefore it shall come to pass, when the Egyptians shall see thee, that they shall say, This is his wife. And they will kill me, but they will save thee alive. Say, I pray thee, that thou art my sister, that it may be well with me for thy sake, and my soul shall live because of thee. And it came to pass that when Abram was come into Egypt, the Egyptians beheld the woman, that she was very fair. The princes also of Pharaoh saw her, and commended her before Pharaoh. And the woman was taken into Pharaoh's house. And he entreated Abram well for her sake. And he had sheep, and oxen, and he-asses, and men servants, and maid servants, and she-asses, and camels. And the Lord plagued Pharaoh and his house with great plagues, because of Sarah, Abram's wife. And Pharaoh called Abram and said, What is this that thou hast done unto me? Why didst thou not tell me that she was thy wife? Why sayest thou, She is my sister? So I might have taken her to me to wife. Now therefore, behold thy wife, take her, and go thy way. And Pharaoh commanded his men concerning him, and they sent him away, and his wife, and all that he had. There's a lot of information here. A lot of information here. So a famine occurs. What would you do if you were starving? Would you go look for food? There's a lot of scholars that say, Egypt is traditionally in the Bible representative of the world. Right? When you see Egypt, it kind of represents the world. And we see Abram going down to Egypt. Now, what else could he have done? Could he have had faith in God to take care of him? He could have. Hindsight's 20/20. We can play Monday morning quarterback all day long. But if I get hungry, we'll probably do the same thing that Abram did. Okay? But Yeah, just to throw that out there. All right. Let's see. Sarah must have been a beautiful woman. You know, I've given advice before, whether it's right or wrong, but I've told, some younger men, like, hey, when you get a wife, be careful. The prettier and more attractive your wife is, the more guys out there are going to want them. It's just a fact. So, but Sarah must have been like drop dead gorgeous, because Abraham was right. Time the Egyptians saw her, they're like, that's a beautiful woman. Now, back in that culture, if a man saw a woman that he wanted for himself, how did he get that woman if she was married? Kill the husband. Kill the husband. But Abraham said, hey, tell him I'm your brother. Now, if she's got a brother, guess what that man has to do? Go talk to that brother and say, what do you want for your sister? Do you see? So, when that man comes and says, hey, what you want for your sister? 2 camels? Donkey? What do you want? Abraham could have been like, no, you don't offer enough, and kept right on. But she caught the eye of Pharaoh. And how do you say no to a king? Because what does the king do if he wants something? He takes it. He takes it. So Pharaoh is like, here you go, brother. He gave him all these resources, right? All the donkeys and the servants, and gave it. What's Abram going to do? Well, if I say no, I'm dead. So kind of got himself in a predicament there. Abram he had some anxiety going on, I'm sure. He was a little fearful at that point. And you'll find as we go through Genesis, Abraham does this several times. He takes this several times. Now, let me ask you this. Did he lie? How many thinks he lied? Okay. How many thinks he told the truth? Well, well, Christ ain't come at this point, right?
That was the first thing I thought of when he said that. He made her lie. The 10 Commandments that come with these.
Could it have been a truthful deception? Let's look at Genesis chapter 20. Go to Genesis chapter 20. Genesis chapter 20, verse 12. And Abram is speaking here. Genesis chapter 20, verse 12. And yet indeed she is my sister. She is the daughter of my father, but not the daughter of my mother. And she became my wife. She's a half-sister. So we're going to read a lot about these different women, okay, that Isaac marries, et cetera, et cetera. So I wanted to direct your attention over here. This is Terah's family, okay? I think I forgot the H. It's fine. Don't worry about it. Here, I'll add it because it's irritating me. H, there you go. All right, Terah's family. So, come to find out, Abram, Nahor, and Haran were Terah's sons, but he obviously married again or had a concubine, right? And that's where Sarah comes in. And she marries Abraham, her half-brother. Okay? Marries that. Now, Bethuel, under Abraham's brother, right? Bethuel has Rebekah. You heard that name before? and Laban. Laban. Who does Rebekah marry? Remember, Abraham tells Eleazar, his servant, go back into my land where I came from and get him a wife from my family, right? Who does he go and get? Rebekah, right? He gets Rebekah. Remember, she's coming in the field, and that's the first time that Isaac is mentioned after he was taken up on the hill to be sacrificed. It's when he met his bride in the field. You don't hear about him in between, but we'll get to that too. Now, Laban, I put him down because he had Leah. You ever heard that name? And Rachel. You ever heard that name? Remember the two sisters or whatever? And who'd they marry? Jacob. So now you can kind of picture where these women came from when they married Abraham's son, grandson, etc. Does that make sense?
She must have been pretty, because he worked 14 years for her.
He sure did. He sure did. It must have ran in the family, hadn't it? So what could get Abraham out of this predicament? Or should I say, who could get Abraham out of this predicament? God. And how did he do it? Plagues, right? All the plagues just went down and started bombarding Egypt. And somehow Pharaoh found out, oh my goodness, these plagues are coming from Abraham's God. Why'd you do me like this? I'd have been a little upset if I would have been the Pharaoh. I'd have been like, why did you do me like this? Now, is this the only time? Is this the only time that the Egyptians are going to experience plagues? Pharaoh is so upset with Abraham, what does he do? Get out. He kicks him out, right? He has his soldiers, hey, get them, their family, the wife, get them all and get them out of Egypt. Just get them out of my country. I'm getting rid of them. Getting rid of them. So there was a famine. They went down into Egypt. People were going to attempt to kill Abraham for his wife. Then there were plagues. Pharaoh had given Abraham all these gifts and stuff, right? And Abraham was able to leave. God delivered him from the hand of Pharaoh. Ring a bell. What? Moses. Was there a famine in the land at the end of Genesis? They went down in there, right? And they became enslaved, right? And what did Pharaoh order? Kill all the sons, keep the women alive. Isn't that what was going to happen with Abraham and Sarah? They'll kill me, but they'll keep you alive. Think about it. It's like a parallel. It's like a foreshadowing or prophecy of what was going to happen a few generations down the line. So I found that to be very interesting. Did y'all catch anything else? Right? And he's richer. Abraham just accumulates wealth. You know, he had wealth to start with because his father was of, prominence in Ur. Then they go to Haran and he gains more. Then he goes down to Egypt and he gains even more. So he's got quite the household now, or quite the tents. I mean, they probably look like a bivouac area out there, like some kind of deployment. Now, what's going to happen in chapter 13? What do y'all think? Separates from Lot, Sodom and Gomorrah, right? Lot's wife turns to a pillar of salt, and there's a huge war. There's a huge war. And that's going to take some time to discuss. So we'll cut it a little short tonight. We got through chapter 12. I think we're going to start doing, well, next week will probably be a long chapter, but after that we'll kind of do maybe 2 or 3 chapters every time we get together, because we're in a different section and we can kind of speed up now a little bit. We're still going to pay attention, but we can speed up a little bit. So here's your homework. I want to know which army and how many leaders battled which army and how many leaders. And are any of them of any significance? I said significance, didn't I? That's okay. That G is very important in there. Any questions on tonight? I thought it would go longer than this.
Would you repeat that question again?
I want you to find out which armies go to war with which army and who were their leaders, and can you identify any of them? Are any of them familiar? So that's one of the questions that I have. And go ahead and read chapter 14, because that's where the battle is. And in chapter 14, there's another individual that you're going to be introduced to. Who is it? What happens after the battle of Sodom and Gomorrah? Melchizedek, right? Melchizedek. So yeah, we got some good reading here. Now in chapter 12, I kind of jumped the gun there. That's not where she turns into a pillar of salt and stuff. That's coming up. This chapter 12 is going to be some of the promises of Abraham. And then Lot separates and he's going to go down and Abraham's going to stay where he is. So that's what we'll be talking about. So I probably will combine 12 and 13. 13 and 14. Yes, we'll combine 13 and 14. That is correct. All right. Any other questions? Go ahead. Hagar, okay.
I think she was one of the maid servants of Pharaoh. All the same thing. Handmaid and Egyptian. So you think,
Well, if she was Egyptian and she was a handmaid, then yeah, I would say probably was one of the gifts from Pharaoh. Because it didn't say he took their gifts back or anything. He said, get you and what you've got out. Okay. Yeah, Hagar was an Egyptian then in verse 16, yeah. I would think so. And if y'all have questions throughout the week as you're studying, you feel free to text me or call me. It's okay. Now, I'm busy up until probably Monday. I'm just letting you know. But yeah, give me a call, text me. If I don't get right back with you, I will get back with you. Okay? If everybody would please stand.